Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. So I wanted to do a quick video response to my good buddy GrubGun. He's probably coming home from the dentist right about now. Um, Most people don't do community videos anymore with responses and stuff and tags as much. I don't see it happening as often. So I figured since I had the opportunity, I might as well do it. He had put up a video a couple days ago that I thought was pretty interesting called Justify Your Collection. And he just really wants to know if you collect, why you collect, and what's the reasoning. Some people, didn't have money as a kid, and maybe now they're going back and they're purchasing things they couldn't afford, and they're experiencing stuff they couldn't have, things like that. Some people, in my case, some of it is I bought it, sold it, and then bought it back. That happened to me with the 3DO, and I believe the Sega Saturn. I did the same thing, and the Neo Geo Pocket Color. But that was when I was older. That was more like, damn, I miss these systems. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about the generations of gaming and why I started collecting. Obviously, the biggest one, the glaring elephant in the room, Sega CD. I have a full United States Sega CD set, mostly boxed. Some of it is just single discs. Got them from mom and pop shops, eBay, half.com, and wherever else over the years. The Sega CD got big to me, and I started collecting for it around. I want to say it was probably when it was like dying or just dead, maybe even more towards the 32-bit era, like when the PlayStation was out and stuff, and the N64. I was just enamored, and I've said this before, by the full motion video. I know some people mock it, but to see like an actual blurry, albeit blurry, human being on the screen, like a movie, and you're interacting with it, I just thought that was so cool. And when the games started getting cheap and they were like clearancing them out and stuff at like Toys R Us, I started buying things and I was like, oh, I want to get a whole set. Lucky, Luckily, the system doesn't have a ton of games, so I was able to get a whole set in a few years, as a teen. Um, it also has some nostalgia tied to it with playing it when I was a kid and like just being blown away by it. But I just think it had a very like strong uniqueness to it, which sort of spun off into the Sega Saturn for me and the 3DO especially. I almost look at the 3DO and the Sega CD as sort of being similar in a way. They did something different with the full motion video, and with the 3DO being so expensive and so powerful, they tried to make like a multimedia machine. So those are the reasons I've collected over the years for the Sega CD and the 3DO, just out of uniqueness. I found them to be so intriguing compared to the standard 3D and 2D games. Even though I love 2D games and 3D as well, there was just a lot of unique titles on those systems that you don't see done like that anymore. As I got a little older, I realized I'd collected a ton of stuff for the PSP and the Vita. This is a few years back. I've since sold off the Vita and the games. I had, let's say, 40 games for the Vita, 35 games. The PSP, I had hundreds of games and I think a system or two. I think one system. Um, I attribute that to a very sad point in my life. I don't really want to get into why, but I had a lot of holes in my life, a lot of things that weren't what they should have been. And to fill in those gaps, I was going out and buying things I didn't need to try and kind of physically fill my life with things. And there's this sort of instant gratification when it comes to purchasing things where you're like, well, this was cool. I got to track this down. I found it for a good price. It looks cool on my shelf. I can play it. The problem was I wasn't really playing them. I had this humongous PSP collection, which you'll see in an old video if you go back and look, and it wasn't really getting any use. I'm not a handheld gamer. I thought it was an interesting idea. I liked it initially when it came out. I think I sold my system, then ended up buying one back years later. But I just had so many games, like hundreds of games, that I wasn't going to use, but sort of filled a gap. And once my life turned the corner and got a lot better, and I attribute that to Beth, to be completely honest. Um, I didn't have as much of a desire, to go out and just start hoarding all these games. So I kind of feel bad for some people when they go out and just hoard video games because you can tell they're sort of lacking something in their life because I was there to some extent. In terms of the Wii U, that's obviously more recent. The system was dying. I knew it was dying. The Switch was pretty much almost announced at that point, and things had gotten really cheap. It had a lot of excellent titles I hadn't played. and I really wanted to play some co-op games with Beth because I know she likes like the Mario Brothers type of stuff. And the funny part is she does like it. We like play Yoshi's Woolly World, and we have a couple other games we haven't even started. But I've gotten tons of use like in single player games with the Wii U. So that's kind of interesting. She's more lately been getting into video games. She was playing Lego Worlds yesterday. I just got her that for her birthday, and she was like totally like fixated on the screen and saying, "Oh, let me try this, let me try that." And she sometimes will hit her head against the wall in a video game and sort of get frustrated quickly and go, "That's it, I'm done," and she just will not pick it up again. With this game, she was really sort of finding her way and taking time to understand it more or whatever. And I really thought that was cool. But anyway, the Wii U was because of her, kind of, because I wanted to get more lighthearted stuff um, to play with her because I thought she would appreciate it more and it might be kind of easier on her than like first person shooters and things that she's not interested in. People also say, and this rings true for me, that the world kind of sucks usually. It is what you make of it, but a lot of things can be negative: work, stress, illnesses, things going on, and the Wii U or Nintendo products in general tend to have this lighthearted, airy fairy kind of world, and sometimes that's what I appreciate because everything else can be bad in ways. There's certain things in people's lives that can be bad. Um, so the Wii U or whatever other Nintendo console sort of puts you in a different world that makes you forget. And I think games in general do that, but the Wii U and Nintendo consoles do that in a different sort of childlike innocence type, if you will. I collect for the Xbox One to some extent, but really just games that I find really interesting, like Stardew Valley. I'm really having a good time with. Terraria, I'm having a pretty good time with as well. But also games that I think will get me a lot of use multiplayer with my friends. I've always said I prefer the Xbox in terms of its online gaming, even though I will definitely admit the PS4 has gotten better exclusives this generation with things like Shenmue 3, um, Street Fighter 5. There's a lot of games I was like, oh, if that would have King of Fighters, if that would have came out, I would have picked that up. So that's happened to me a few times now at this point, to where I was like, shit, I don't have a PS4. But I collect for that because I want to play. Now I'm collecting more to play games. It used to be for nostalgia or uniqueness, things like that. Now it's more like, will I play this? Is it worth the X amount of money to me? And most of the time it's not. Sometimes it is, and then I get like a really good amount of time out of a game and I really get my money's worth. Another big part of that is, game hunting is just fun. If you look at someone like Corey Zamir, he like loves the thrill of the hunt. Um, Collecting with Corey is his channel. If you want to check him out, he's a really good guy. And going to a thrift store, going to garage sales, or mom and pop shops, and finding these things, it's half the fun. It's finding them, and the other half is playing them or playing them with friends and really getting into them. So there's a lot of little intricacies in terms of all this, but I would say overall, nostalgia was a big part of it, filling in holes in my life years ago, or gaps, if you will. And yeah, I kind of just buy what I'm going to play now, but back then it was for all these other reasons. And it's cool to see Beth get into video games to some extent because that makes me like, oh, maybe for her birthday I'll buy her, Lego World. She might like this. And then when she does, I go, all right, good job. You got her a video game that she's going to spend some time with. That even when I'm like working out or if I'm at work or something and working and she's home that day, I'll be like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I just popped in like Lego Avengers for 20 minutes." And I'm like, "Okay." Like, we're initially she wasn't like that. She would have probably went out or watched a movie if the weather was bad. So there's different reasonings for it now, but those are primarily the reasons I collect and used to collect. Thanks to my buddy GrubGun for putting up this video. I'm gonna put his link down in the comments so you can down in the description, excuse me, so you can check him out. He's a great guy. And yeah, if you want to do a video response, please do. I'm sure he'd appreciate the response. Thanks, guys, for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe.